Hello and welcome to episode 4 of This is a Basketball Show. I'm Ben Chowder, joined by Jaden Hunter, Giacomo Imperiali, and Matt Freeman. Guys, we got a pretty fun episode planned. We got some the weekly recap like we always do. We got some NBA team superlatives. Freeman's gonna hit us with his top 5 teams. Of course, we got the spicy guac take. So let's get right into it then. Let's get the spicy guac take right off the bat. So, Jock, what do you have first for us?
All right, so we can see the beautiful visual we
Of
got up
course.
here on the screen for this week. It's my favorite segment of the day. So I got two flaming hot takes for this week, guys. So one of them I think most of us can agree upon, and I think one we may have a little bit more debate. So number one, I'm gonna rock with the guy from Indiana, Benedict Mathurin, will finish top 2 in Rookie of the Year vote. Oh, excuse me. He's averaging 20 points per game at the moment. Only him and Paulo are doing that. Obviously, they're the only ones to average 20 or more points per game. Also shooting very efficiently, which was his biggest problem coming out of the draft. He's shooting 45% from the field, 33% from 3. I mean, again, can those numbers increase? Yes, but I think that they will, obviously with maturity and experience in the league. But I think for this year, I think him and Paulo are going to be neck and neck. Ultimately, I think Paulo will win Rookie of the Year, but I think Benedict Mathurin is going to slide right into that 2 spot. What do you guys think about that?
To be honest with you, I agree 100%. I mean, it's difficult to predict rookies, so if you're wrong, I won't be shocked either. But that would be my pick to be number 2. But I mean, as of now, nobody is going to catch Paolo, and I'll touch on that very shortly. But no one's gonna catch Paolo.
Yeah, guys, do we remember who made the prediction for Paolo for Rookie of the Year? I know I did. Of course, I made that prediction.
No.
Jock,
See,
and
I don't like to be basic. I like to be a little different. So,
which is also wrong.
That's why I said Jaden Ivey. I think would be
Okay,
close. But he's not doing too good.
Yeah, Zach, didn't you say Jaden Ivey? You did not say Paul.
yeah, don't raise your
I
hand.
said
Get
my
outta
pick was
here.
Paulo, but I said
No,
Jaden
you
Ivey.
did not. No, you did not. You said Jaden Ivey.
No.
Paulo was my pick to win it.
No, he was not. Jaden Ivey was your pick.
Paulo's my
Stop
pick.
changing. Stop changing now.
I'm not changing.
You are.
Jaden Ivey was your pick. Done. Like, that's for sure.
All right, Jock, you got any more takes for us?
Yeah, I got one more. I think this is a bit of an interesting topic that I think we need to touch upon is the fact that the Brooklyn Nets are really underwhelming so far this season. Obviously, they have a top 5 player in the league and Kevin Durant on their team, but due to the fact that Kyrie with the whole suspension and he may be quitting basketball, reports are saying at the moment that really is a big loss for this Brooklyn Nets team and especially their backcourt. So my take with this Nets team is I think that they're a playing team at best. I mean, their roster is just pitiful, especially if they're going to lose Kyrie Irving. I mean, the fact that they have Kevin Durant is the only thing, in my opinion, keeping them at that play-in level. Would I be surprised if they sneak in? It's maybe one of the last season of the playoffs? No, because, again, they have Kevin Durant on their team. But this roster is just so pitiful from top to bottom. And they're losing their second-best player in Kyrie Irving if he's not going to be playing the rest of the season. So I want to hear what you guys think and where the Nets are going to end up by the end of the season.
Yeah, most definitely. I can definitely agree with that one. I mean, it wasn't really a spicy guac take. I think a lot of people in the world are thinking that right now because with the loss of Kyrie Irving, obviously Kevin Durant is playing amazing, but the Nets don't really have Kyrie Irving, the primary ball handler, so we don't know how this team is going to be. I think they're definitely going to be probably in a play-in game, though, at most.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think I 100% am on board with you saying that the Nets, they're going to take a huge hit if let's assume Kyrie does not come back and play this year. It's obviously a huge hit. You're losing one of the best point guards in the league, and this team was built around, I'm very low on super teams and that being, what a franchise is built around. But so I'm not big on super teams to begin with, but you also have to understand, even though they're losing Kyrie Irving, that if he retires, if that's what we're going to say happens, that creates a lot of cap space and they have moves that they can potentially make. They have at least room to make moves.
Yeah.
And you have a top 5 player in the league in Kevin Durant. To count them as a fringe or a play-in team at best, I think is a little crazy. I mean, you're talking about Kevin Durant. This is one of the best players in the league. I'm personally a fan of Ben Simmons. I think he's gonna, get things together. This is the the biggest example of a guy just being mentally messed up. He's just not in the right place. But if he figures it out, and we'll get back to that, young budding star that we saw in Philly in those early stages. But I mean, if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, as we touched on last week, the Eastern Conference is loaded this year. But I just don't see the Pacers holding up in a top playoff spot. I don't see the Knicks holding up. I don't see the Wizards holding up. And quite frankly, I think that the 76ers will move up, but that leaves a lot of room for the Nets to sneak in to be a play-in team, but definitely not sneak in, to be one of those 7 or 8 seeds, not necessarily a fringe team at coming in at 10.
Yeah, Freeman, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm a massive Ben Simmons fan. I always have been. I always think he's the most underrated defender in the league. In his prime, he was incredible on offense for the Sixers. I think he still could be the best defending guard in the league, but it's just a matter of putting it together there in Brooklyn. Fringe playing team. I can't get behind that. I still see them being a 5, 6, maybe 7, but that's obviously not a fringe playing team. So, Jock, definitely a spicy take this week. We love to see it. We love to see the spicy guac takes in the cowboy hat, in the sunglasses. That's what we're here for, guys.
Sir.
So, Freeman, I know you got your top 5 teams of the NBA ready for us. Before we get into the Week 3 takeaways, do you want to run us through that?
Yeah. So I'll hit you with my top 5. So at number 5, I have to put the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, they're coming off a really big win against the Bucks last night. Only team to beat the Bucks. DeJounte Murray and Trae Young. I really wasn't too optimistic about pairing those two together, but they're the only team to beat the Bucks. They're 7-3. I think sliding them in at 5 is definitely. I think it has to be done at this point in the season. So, moving on to number 4. My top 5 is built around success up to this point in the season. And then also we are very early on in the season kind of predicting what's going to happen going forward. But the Utah Jazz have to be mentioned here as they're 9-3. I mean, is it a fluke? Maybe, probably. But you can't keep them off the list when they're 9-3 and one of the leading teams in the West. So they have to slide in at 4. The reason they're only at 4 is just because I think there's 3 teams ahead of them that have the record and have the talent to be ahead of them for right now. Number 3, I'm going to say the Boston Celtics. They are probably the most complete team in the NBA. I mean, you have your superstars, or you have your superstar Jason Tatum. You have your supporting stars, Jaylen Brown, Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. And then Al Horford is having a very good year. Malcolm Brogdon off the bench, Grant Williams, Derek White. And then Blake Griffin is a very underrated addition that they made to their team. And he's definitely not the Blake Griffin of old, but very valuable off the bench. He's given them high efficiency and not a lot of minutes. And they're 7-3, very difficult schedule. I think to slide them in at 3 is, again, very fair in a very loaded Eastern Conference. Number 2, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. Giacomo gave me some wild takes last week telling me that the Bulls were better than them. That is just blasphemy. They're the 3rd best defensive team in the NBA. They're 8-2. They have one of the most complete rosters in the NBA. They're young. The only thing that they're lacking is experience in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, if you look at defense travels no matter what. That's been historic in the NBA. They have one of the most complete rosters, and their young stars are finally entering their prime, and they're going to be gelling. It's really going to be fun to watch this team getting into the playoffs. But they're no question my number 2 team in the league. And number 1, I'm sure everyone could have guessed it, the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the league. They're 9-1, best defense, suffocating every team that they play. They have arguably the best player in the NBA. There's no way that you can say the Bucks aren't the best team in the league. Best record, best defense, potentially best player. They're the team to beat for the NBA Finals this year. No doubt about it.
So, guys, anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think I want to touch on first. Really no big disagreements here. I really do like the list. Obviously, as a Knicks fan, I hate Trae Young personally, but you can't deny how good he is. I've loved Javon.
DeJounte.
I've
Dejounte
loved
Murray.
yeah, I've loved DeJounte Murray since he was in San Antonio. I think he's a great playmaker. I think him and Trae Young really go well together in that backcourt. I also love John Collins. I love the athleticism he brings to that team. Love that at 5, as much as it pains me to say that. I like the Jazz at 4 as well. I think I just don't know if it wants to hold up. I want to see a little bit more. But again, you can't say that they're not in this top 5 when they're leading the Western Conference at the moment, which, I mean, could change any moment, and I think it will. But again, they're playing good basketball. Celtics 3. Cavs, it pains me to say it because they're a loaded team. Don't get me wrong. I did not think that they were going to be this good. Like, I won't lie. I messed up there a little bit. I did not think that.
Who told you they were going to be this good?
You give me that one. I'll give it to you.
And I'll give Jaden credit. He was on the wagon way before me. He was on the wagon before the season even started.
That's true.
Continue.
The Cavs are showing a lot of confidence in this team. My main concern was their chemistry. That seems like they're meshing together very well. And then Bucks at 1 is obvious at this point, but they're by far the most well-rounded, best team in the league. So yeah, really no complaints there. I really agree with Matt's top 5 here.
Yeah, Freeman, something I want to throw out real quick. Any thoughts on possibly a team like Denver going in the top 5 above Atlanta?
I definitely wouldn't put Denver there yet. I mean, they're playing good basketball as of late, but I just don't see how you can put the Atlanta Hawks behind Denver. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks just beat the best team in the league. I think it's pretty that's pretty common knowledge. So with the same record, the Atlanta Hawks have better wins. I would just rank them a little bit higher than the Nuggets for now. Obviously, it'll fluctuate from week to week. But what I want to throw out there really quick for you guys is me being a Grizzlies fan, you know, I have a lot of pride in my guys, especially John Morant. And, you know, a common debate that we were having last year was, you know, who was a better young star, John Morant or Trae Young. And as this year begins, in terms of statistics, John Morant is really making a large gap between Trae Young. Do you think that's because Trae Young can't fit in a system where he doesn't have the ball in his hands 24/7, or is it just that's his role in this offense? Like, someone explain to me, is John Morant just solidifying himself as a better player than Trae Young, better point guard than Trae Young, or is it just situational, which is why Trae Young's numbers are falling?
Doc?
Yeah, I just want to touch on that real quick. So obviously, we know if we're going just off shooting, Trae Young is a much better shooter, even though John Morant has taken the steps in the right direction. I think it mostly is situational just because of the fact that the Hawks, they're bringing DeJounte Murray. They have championship aspirations in the next couple of years. They're bringing in an all-star guard last year, DeJounte Murray, who I said I'm very high on him. He's working in a backcourt where 2 guys want the ball. And then you also have John Collins yelling for the ball down low. And John Morant in Memphis, it's really the John Morant show. Obviously, we talked about guys like Dylan Brooks, who are really big role players, Jaren Jackson. There's other role players on that team. But I think in Atlanta, it's more of a spread the wealth kind of philosophy, even though Trae Young is going to have those higher numbers. But I think, again, talent-wise, I agree that John Morant is better, and I think that gap is going to continue to grow, personally. That's my opinion. But I think it also is situational, and I think it was kind of hinted at that Trae Young was going to have a little bit of regression on his numbers this year.
Yeah, something else I want to throw out there. John Morant has taken a massive step up, in my opinion, this year on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I know, like, superstar guards, no one wants to talk about defense. But guys, Trae Young might be the worst defending guard.
He plays no defense.
He's horrific. Yeah. And I know it, like, stats wise, it usually won't matter, but that has a massive impact on a team. And who knows where the Hawks could be at the end of the season if Trae Young just decided to play defense, let alone good defense. But I think they're near each other offensively. I think Ja does have a little bit of the edge, but defensively, it's Ja by miles, and that's not even because he's an incredible defender. He just decides to play defense when Trae does not.
Yeah, and I got a hot Freed take for you. I'm gonna follow in the footsteps of my man.
That was so corny.
Thanks, Shaden. Go ahead, Freeman.
Thank you. All right. I'm gonna say that by the end of the season, DeJounte Murray will be considered a better player than Trae Young.
I'm 100% agree with you. I'm 100%
his defensive end is unbelievable especially compared to the lackluster defensive Trae Young. And then just so far in this season, DeJounte Murray is having the same prominence to their offense as Trae Young is. So if this continues, I don't see how you could put Trae Young ahead of DeJounte Murray. I think that they will give the ball to Trae Young down the stretch in big spots because he's proven that he is one of the best players in the league in those situations. But for the entire season, I'm going to say DeJounte Murray is going to be a better player than Trae Young this year.
I love it.
100% agree.
This is the first time DeJounte Murray's been in a good system. Obviously, he's stuck in San Antonio, had no help. He's getting help. He has another great backcourt duo in Trae Young, and he has John Collins. I mean, I 100% am on board with this. I think DeJounte Murray plays better defense. I think he spreads the ball a little bit better. Obviously, I think Trae Young is a bit more of a talented scorer, but I can 100% agree with you that I could see DeJounte Murray being a better player than Trae Young by the end of the season.
I think DeJounte, and I'll go right back to defense for guards. He might be the best defending guard in the league right now. I know Marcus Smart, all those steals he had last year, still doesn't deserve the DPOY in my opinion. But DeJounte Murray is probably the best defending guard in the league. He's great on offense. And Trae is taking a bit of a step down, guys, from last year. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that or if it's just me. But he doesn't look like he did last year. Obviously, he'll probably knock off some of the rust, but that's something to note.
Yeah, I've noticed it. His points per game are dipping a little bit. I feel like his shooting efficiency has gone down. He's only shooting 43%. I feel like that's a bit low for him. I feel like he's always been a knockdown shooter. So yeah, I think I have noticed a little bit of regression out of him.
I will say DeJounte Murray, in order to incorporate him into this offense, he's a heavy pick and roll guy. It's not necessarily an offense when DeJounte Murray has the ball. It's not necessarily an offense where they can both thrive scoring wise. So obviously the Hawks have been prospering early on this year, but I think Trae Young's scoring output is just going to be lower than it has been, and that's just how it is going to be with DeJounte Murray along his side.
By the way, I messed up on my stat line there. He's actually only shooting 38% this year. He's a career-wise, he's a 44% shooter. He's only shooting 38% from the field this year. Just wanted to clear that out.
He's just forcing shots. I mean, that's all it is. He feels like he's the only offensive player on that team, which he's not. Like it's a lot different than I don't know, like a Jalen Green on the Rockets. Like, he doesn't have to force shots there, but he still is, and they're seeing the repercussions right now. Guys, I want to get into some of the week 3 takeaways, and Jock, we'll start it off with any thoughts you might have on the Bulls just so far this season.
Well, obviously,
Oh, hey! Welcome to the first ever episode of Connor's Blood Run with your boy Connor here, talking about how good the Bulls are this year. So the Bulls, they're currently 6-6, but who cares? They're still winning championship. Of notable wins against the Heat, Nets, and the Raptors and Celtics. All right. So the first guy we have is Zach LaVine. Now, because of his injury he's dealing with last year, he's kind of playing a little he's kind of not in his game right now. But against the Raptors yesterday, he had a nice little dirty bomb. So I guess he's back. He's back to being normal. Now we have the man, the legend himself, the greatest mid-range shooter of today's game, DeMar DeRozan, the mid-range god himself. This man, he's playing great again for a second season. He's obviously in the MVP conversation. An example that would be against the Celtics. We dropped 46 points. Unfortunately, we did lose, but it doesn't matter because he dropped 46. That's all okay. No one cares about Celtics winning. As you see, this amazing picture right here, this work of art, we have the man himself, the legend himself, the GOAT, Michael Jordan, and then we have DeMar DeRozan next to him. So this image pretty much says that he is the modern MJ. We all can agree he is the modern MJ of the league. This should be in the museum. It's a work of art. This is better than any painting artist in the game right now. As you can see, look, they're like the same exact pose. They're literally the modern Pippen and Jordan. All right, now we have a beautiful man right here. He's him. Ayo DeSumo is him. This man is right now the most improved player of the league so far. This man is clamping up the best players on opposite teams. He's shooting pretty solid this year, and he's been a great team. He's been a great player this year so far, and he's also a Chicago legend. He's a Chicago legend. He's like the next legend since Derrick Rose, baby. And then this picture expresses my love for him. This just shows my feelings. Literally, he saved my life. I will take a bullet for this man. All right, then we have Vooch. He's currently there's a thing we call it the Vooch cycle, where he plays really good, but then he plays really bad after that. So he's kind of in the cycle right now, where like he's playing bad, but he's probably gonna play good soon. So that's how the cycle works, pretty much. But we love Vooch. Some all Bull fans love Vooch. All right, then we have these two. Now in the off season, when we got these two, people were questioning that these moves were good or not. But so far, these two have been playing really well off the bench. We have the best backup center in the league, Andre Drummond, and a solid scorer in Goran Dragic, who's like really helping us like a lot. But then Drummond's been out, so like, but Drummond's like injured. Drummond is currently injured, so like, we have like no bigs now, so we're getting like big bodied easily, which sucks. Oh, and then we have Lonzo Ball. Man, he's still injured. But good news, he is coming back. His injury is going well for recovering. Man, I'm just saying, I will give Lonzo my leg to the recover faster. I'll sacrifice my leg for this man. Man, our team was just so good of him, and he's out, and then we kind of suck. We sucked last year when he got injured. So yeah, I really want him back. We have this image. All right, so here we have the Bulls. They're threatening the Eastern Conference. We're literally shaking the Eastern Conference. We're 6-6 right now, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna win the NBA championship. It doesn't matter. It's only 12 games in the season. We're gonna win, obviously. No competition in the East. And we have the greatest mascot in the NBA. Actually, no, not in the NBA, in all sports. The greatest mascot of all time, Benny the Bull. The man. Yeah, we have a picture of him streaking. Yeah, fun time. I think this was during the Bucks playoff game. Yeah, he's good. Yeah, we have a little Bulls meme here. Yeah, I have a lot of Bulls memes. So pretty much, in conclusion, the Bulls, they're a pretty good team, solid team. They're probably, they're gonna win. Obviously, there's no competition. Maybe the Bucks. The Bucks have some competition. And the Suns on the West, they're frauds. They got owned by the greatest white person in the league, the white man himself, Luka Doncic. Yeah, the image of him is great. So yeah, this pretty much includes the first ever Bulls section about.
All right, so Jock, I think you were talking about the Bulls.
Wow.
Yeah. What a performance there.
What a production. Wow.
I'm gonna take my I'm gonna give my takeaways out of that. First thing I want to touch on, which well, there was a lot of stuff I didn't agree with. I'm not comparing DeMar DeRozan to MJ by any means. I don't know what we're doing there. One thing I do want to talk about is he did touch on Ayo DeSumo. I'm very high on that young kid. He is 21 years old, one of the really great lockdown defender. Obviously, he's not the greatest scorer in the league. Doesn't have to be on this Bulls team, but I love him off the bench. I could see him He may be in like 6-man most improved. I don't think he'll win any of those, but maybe in the conversation by the end of the season. I'm very high on him. I think he will grow in Chicago a lot. Again, if we're saying Bulls are greater than Cavs, not right now. Obviously, what the Cavs have been doing surprised me a little bit. They've been one of the best teams in the league, as I touched on. Very surprising. But the Bulls, again, he stated the Bulls have had some impressive wins. Raptors, Bucks, Nets, impressive wins. I mean, bottom line is, yes, I still think the Bulls will be okay, and I think they'll be a playoff team in the East. I think they'll be a good playoff team.
Hold on a sec. Did you just say the Bulls or the Cavs are in the Bulls right now? Are you planning on the Bulls being better than the Cavs at any point this year?
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Have I not been clear about that?
Oh,
So,
I thought
like, what do you mean? Like, just,
I
Like-
didn't
one
realize
point
you were
they're gonna be better?
serious.
What's up?
Just like at one point in the season they'll be slightly better, or
At one point in the season, yes, they will be better than the
Well,
Cavs. I
Wait, that's very like broad. You're telling
yeah,
me
that's the
like
whole point.
at
I'm
the
not
at
going to
the
tell
end
you.
of the year.
I'm not going to tell you like in February the Bulls are going to be better than the Cavs. No, I'm just going to be broad and tell you at a certain point in this season, I do believe that the Bulls will surpass the Cavs.
Well,
I don't
like
understand that.
wait, surpass like you think that the Bulls will finish higher than the Cavs at the end of this year?
No, he's saying that sometime at
I
some
don't
point.
think you know what he's saying.
I know what he's
that's
saying. I know
unknown.
he's saying at some point
I
in the
think-
season
I
that the
think-
Bulls are going to have a better record than the Cavs. At some point in the season.
I don't. That's just ridiculous. In my
It's
opinion.
not ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. I don't want to say that they will be high. I think that they will be on the same level, very, very close, competing around the same playoff region in the East.
But like, explain to me why. Like the Cavs are
Explain to you
just
why?
better in every single aspect.
That's
They have a better
I mean-
roster. They play better defense. Like
Whoa,
where?
the defense
What is
very-
whoa? What is
The
whoa?
defense is
What-
very close. The defense is very close. Let's get that clear. It's not that the Cavs
It
don't
can be
play
kind of
astronomically
close.
better defense. I mean, I love Evan Mobley as a defender, but you got Vucevic, who's a defensive center. Dosunmu is very good on the defensive side.
You can't keep doing this. When you list players, that has nothing to do with team defense.
The team defense on the Bulls is very good. They are
It's
very
okay,
good.
and the team defense on the Cavs is number 3 in the entire NBA. So
I believe that the Bulls are 6.
okay,
So they're
nice.
very close. So they're very close.
Okay,
right?
But then if you go down the line with rosters, the Cavs have a better
The
roster. than
the
Bulls.
Cavs are obviously, yes, they do have a bit more of a talented roster, but I'm trying to think of how I want to word this here.
I'm trying to think of in what way are the Bulls gonna surpass the Cavs? You said it yourself. More talent. You said it can be as close as you want to make it. They're better defensively. I just make it make sense to me, please.
I think that the Bulls also, we talked about, they're a more experienced group together. Not that that's a problem. Obviously, the Cavs are showing that they are a very good team, and I'm not disregarding the Cavs. The Cavs are a good team. I don't want you guys to think that I'm like crap. I'm like throwing negative on the Cavs. No, they're a very good team. I just think that the Bulls are going to play better than they are, and I think that they're going to continue to elevate. I've said I think DeMar is going to continue to grow this season. I think LaVine is due for a bit of regression this year, which is the only thing I'm scared about on my take on the Bulls. I think LaVine is going to have some regression, but they also have young guys like in Connor's Bulls presentation talked about picking up guys like Pat Williams, great defender off the bench, love him. I love Dosunmu off the bench. They are a deep team, and I think that if they will, I think they're going to have guys step up and make impacts to maybe be close with the Cavs come playoff contention time.
But what you are saying, the guys that you are highlighting are players off the bench that average 10 a game, some of them not even, and play good defense. And you just said it yourself. You believe that LaVine is going to regress. Hold on. You believe that LaVine is going to regress. You look at this Cavs roster, every single player is a young stud. So how can you expect them to do anything but get better?
I think Garland's due for some regression this year with his new team.
What reason? He's not. There's going to be a regression on the stat sheet, but his impact is going to be felt more than ever because he's one of the best distributors in the league, and now he has more options to give the ball away.
Why would he regress? He's such a young player.
He's a young player, and he's got more talent
Donovan
around.
Mitchell's in his backcourt. That's kind of why he's going to regress, obviously. But I mean,
Stat regression.
Yeah, that doesn't make him a worse. That doesn't get a worse player.
I'm not saying
If you look at the game objectively, Darius Garland's impact is not felt as much on the stat sheet as it is when you're watching the game. Donovan Mitchell is going out there. He's going to average 30 a game. That takes a lot of touches away from Darius Garland. But Garland's ability to spread the ball and handle the ball, like this team is such a well-oiled machine. There's no Donovan Mitchell only getting better. Garland's regression on the stat sheet, he's only getting better. Mobley, Jared Allen, only getting better. Like, show me where this Cavs team is only getting better. Show me where the Bulls are going to just take a huge jump and be better than them.
I think it's going to come down to the contributors off the bench and guys stepping up off the bench.
But why would it be if they had even starting lineups? I can understand. The Cavaliers blow the Bulls out of the water in terms of their core of their roster.
I hear, and here's going to be my big selling point here. The guy that the Bulls really need to step up is Lonzo Ball. Let's be honest. They need him to step up in a big way this year.
I mean, let's be honest. They need Michael Jordan to come back if they're going to.
That's just absurd, though. Like, that's just absurd.
That's not absurd. That's not absurd.
A good player.
That's just not absurd.
Just absurd.
How is it absurd? The Cavs might be better up and down.
Okay, there may be like
lineup.
the Bulls may be one player away from like being on the same. I think that they're so close to the Cavs now, but they are like maybe one player away. Let's say they make a trade at the deadline. I think they'll be aggressive because I think that they're one guy away from being. If the Cavs are here, I think the Bulls are like there. I think if the Bulls are like one player away, they're here.
Yeah, Giannis. Is that the one player?
No. A role player, like a good role player.
They're a good role player away from being better than the Cavs.
Yeah.
That just it baffles me. It really does because I don't know what more the Cavs have to prove to you. Their lineup is just better. They're performing better. Where
they're performing better at the moment. I don't think.
I'm saying what reason is there that there will be a change? I don't understand it. So Darius Garland is better than Gordon, better than whoever they're going to start, Dragic or Lonzo or whoever their point guard that you want to pick.
Yeah.
Garland is better. Donovan Mitchell better.
Yep.
DeRozan is better than Caris LeVert.
Well.
Okay.
If we're being honest, depending on I'm not gonna mention anything, but keep going. Go ahead. Yes, DeMar.
So the only spot the Bulls have the advantage on their starting lineup is at small forward,
and he's the best player on the court.
Oh boy.
I would take him and Donovan Mitchell are like this and this. Him and Donovan Mitchell are like this and this.
Okay, but look at the rest of look at the rest of the roster. The Cavs got him in every single aspect except DeMar DeRozan. Every single other aspect. They're better at team defense. Their roster is better top to bottom. You compare their starting lineup, the only player that's better is DeMar DeRozan. He's not going to carry them to the point where they're better than this well-oiled machine.
He did it last year. He carried them to the playoffs last year.
To the playoffs. Great. I'm not doubting that the Bulls will make the playoffs.
You're telling me the Cavs are going to win the championship this year?
So now you're putting words in my mouth, and that's just not what I said. You are telling me. No. My
point was that the Bulls and the Cavs are going to be on the same level. That's my point.
And my point is that that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. When did I ever say the Cavs are going to win the championship? You put that right in my mouth.
Okay, but then you're coming at me saying that I'm saying that DeMar's can carry them to the playoffs, and then you're saying that I'm wrong.
I never said that you're wrong. I said DeMar's not carrying them.
Tell me I
did not. No, I did not. No, I did not. I said DeMar will carry them to the playoffs. That's fine. They're not going to be a better team than the Cavs. That's what we're arguing here. You're telling me that the Bulls will be on par with the Cavs by the end of the year. Yes. I'm telling you that's ridiculous because DeMar DeRozan cannot carry this Bulls team to a number 2 or number 3 seed in the East. It just won't ever happen. I'm sorry. Cleveland Cavaliers have proven it now. We see that their roster is better. We see that their roster is better top to bottom, no question. We see that they're playing better now. They have better team defense. I don't know what else you're looking for.
That's right there. Pretty much everything except for the talent in the lineup is very close. Leave it at that. I'm gonna let Ben.
Pretty much everything except the players on the court are really close. Do you hear yourself right now?
Do you hear me? Do you hear me, Matt? Can you hear me?
Jock, where do you think the Bulls will end up playoff seeding by the end of the season?
I think their ceiling is a 4 seed, and I think their floor is like a 6.
And you think the Cavs' ceiling is lower than the 4 seed?
Do you think that? Do I think the Repeat that? Sorry.
The Cavs will finish
Cavs
lower than
are
first.
a 3 to 6 seed.
He's not saying that. He's not saying that the
Oh
Cavs.
my lord!
He's not
Did I
saying.
not
Six
just say? I
seed
said their
is
floor is the
crazy.
6.
Dude,
I said their
Jock,
ceiling is like a third.
Dude, Jock is not saying that at the end of the season that the Bulls are going to be better than the Cavs. He's saying
Thank
at some
you.
point
Thank
in the
you.
season the Bulls are going to have a better record than the Cavs.
Thank
At some
you.
point.
What even is that like at some point in the season? That's ridiculous. Like
That could be. I mean,
Okay.
that could be 3 games from now. It's a 2
yeah,
game
that
difference.
could, but like I don't understand. And then you're
Okay,
telling me
fine.
the
Later
Bulls-
down the stretch. Fine. We'll make it later
So
down
that's
the stretch.
so it's still the same thing. I just don't understand how you think that the Bulls are going to have such a surge later in the year throughout
They don't
this
need
year.
a big surge. They don't.
They
just
do.
need to play
They're
a bit
6
better.
and 6.
They
The
just need to
Cavs
play
are
a
8 and
bit
2.
better than they have, which I
No,
believe
they're
that they
6 and
do.
6. The Cavs are 8 and 2. They need a surge. If they want to
Cavs are not
be
gonna
better than the
continue to
Cavs at any point this year, they need a surge because the Cavs are not slowing down. I'm sorry.
Just
They're not.
You don't know
Why?
that.
Why will they slow down?
This
There's
is
no
all
reason.
hypothetical. We're getting hypothetical here. No, I'm not gonna.
This,
No.
this isn't hypothetical. I'm telling you that the Cavs have a better roster.
Okay, so
I'm telling
what if
you
I
that
were
they've been
to hear
playing better
Allen like
throughout this
breaks
year.
his leg and Donovan Mitchell tears his ACL and is out for the season?
All right,
Like,
I think that's a good.
that's your contingency.
That's
If
what
that
you.
happens,
That's what
then
you
the Bulls-
want. Like,
I think that's a good point to move on
Thank you.
to our NBA team superlatives here.
Oh, I'm ready.
Jaden, I'll have you start off. Who has had the most surprising start out of any team in the league so far?
Yeah, I love this one. Obviously, I'm going to go with the Cavs. I mean, no one predicted them to be here with the addition of Donovan Mitchell, but I mean, they were my sleeper team coming into the preseason, and they're playing absolutely amazing. And I know that everyone saw like the headlines coming in. Oh, Donovan Mitchell's going to the Cavs, or Donovan Mitchell's going to the Cavs, and no one really predicted them to be like one of the top teams. And they're showing that they are the top team. So that's why my most surprising team so far is definitely the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Freeman?
Yeah, I'm gonna say the most surprising team for me has been the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, you have to look. They're 7-3. I understand there are some teams that will probably get touched on that have a better record that were coming out of nowhere. But I'm looking at the teams that the Blazers have beaten. They've beaten the Nuggets. They've beaten the Suns. They've beaten the Heat. These are very quality opponents, and they've won other games down the stretch too, with Damian Lillard out of the game. To see this roster that had no real big additions from last year into this year step up in big moments and win games, that I was not seeing that coming at all. I thought it was going to be a dumpster fire. I thought Damian Lillard was going to waste his career away. But to be honest with you, they've turned my head a little bit. I didn't expect them to have young leadership step up down the stretch and propel them to some wins.
Jock?
yeah, Matt kind of hinted at my pick right there in the West. You're talking about the most surprising team in the league. It's by far the Utah Jazz. Let's be honest here. Everyone I didn't even have the Jazz in the playoff picture in my rankings at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, we know, but you had the Pacers in the playoff picture.
Yeah. All right.
And the Kings.
Finish it off, Jock.
Okay. Yeah, it's by far the most surprising team is the Jazz. Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton are their leading scorers. I mean, that just tells you how absurd that this team is. They share the ball very well, play good team defense, and they've had impressive wins. Like, they're winning big games down the stretch. And a lot of their games are close, and it's because they play good defense down the stretch. But yeah, by far the most surprising team to me this year is the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, Jock, I'll back you up with that one too. Obviously, Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton being your leading scorers. I don't think anyone ever thought those guys would be a top 2 scoring duo on a team ever with how they've played on their past 2 teams. You touched on some of the wins they've had. I just want to run through them real quick. So opening day, massive win against the Nuggets, 21-point victory. They take out the Timberwolves after they gave away Rudy Gobert and got pretty much just a bunch of future guys, still took them out. Beat the Pelicans, beat the Rockets, beat the Grizzlies twice, 2 times in a row. Freeman, I know you love that. They knocked out the Lakers in a big win, and they just beat the Clippers and then just beat the Lakers again. Like, those are all very high quality wins. I know the Lakers are a bit of an iffy team, but I mean, there's still some talent there. There still is some talent there. Grizzlies, the 2-part win, the 1-2 punch right there. That is an incredible winning streak they had. So, I mean, for Jock, like you said, these are massive wins against actual teams. Whether it's the players, we know the coaching is there because there's no way this roster is playing the way they do without incredible coaching.
there's got to be something going on in the water over there in Utah and the environment that their coaches are creating over there. Because again, I completely agree with you. There's no way that you could look at this roster and be like, those guys are going to be at the top of the West by the end of the season. There's no way. Like, there has to be something going on.
Yeah, I mean,
legend.
Shout out Connor. Connor's bull run just earlier. Lowry, a bull legend. That's kind of my take, is that Lowry wasn't a bull legend. He was just like kind of like
he was a role player.
And now he's I mean, the best player on the Jazz, which just makes no sense. But hey, it's the world we're living in, and they're the 2 seed, I believe, right now. So hey, whatever works for Utah, man.
1 seed.
1 seed, yeah, even better.
9-3.
Makes no sense. I don't think anyone would have predicted this. I know it's early in the season, but we played a lot of games, and they're still the 1 seed. So, hey, good for the Jazz. Yeah, so me and Jock, that's got to be the most surprising start. Blazers, Freeman, like you said, I could definitely see that as well. Jane, we'll move over to the most disappointing start now for every team.
Obviously, I think a lot of you guys will agree with this one, but the Golden State Warriors are terribly disappointing this year. I mean, they came in Jordan Poole, arguably going to be the 6th man of the year. I know he was my pick. I think it was a couple of your guys' picks too. I think everyone had high hopes for them. Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Draymond Green, especially coming back. They had James Wiseman coming back, Jonathan Kuminga coming back. I think everyone expected them to be such a great team, and they're just like terrible at this point. I mean, rough start completely. They're burning on fire right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna back that up 1,000%. I mean, I was also, but I think everybody here was a fan of the Warriors going in. How can you not be? I mean, the defending champions. This is the team to beat, supposedly, but no, they're not the team to beat. Worst defensive team in the NBA. I mean, they're in the caboose of the West at the moment. They cannot win at the road at all, and they have the biggest bench discrepancy in the starters to bench discrepancy in the entire NBA. So 0 bench play, 0 defense, and 0 ability to win on the road. That sounds like a very immature team. When you look at it being the Warriors, you get very surprised. And I'm not sure if it's lack of leadership, if it's poor coaching. And this is surprising because you look at the Warriors with Curry, with Klay, with Draymond. These are guys you would expect to be, some of the best leaders in the NBA. And Steve Kerr has already solidified himself as one of the best coaches in the NBA. So I'm not really sure exactly what's going on with this Warriors team, but I know they are definitely the most disappointing to start this year.
Yeah. Just to add on to that, I mean, we obviously know Steve Kerr is an amazing coach. He was my pick for being coach of the year this year. And he's a leader on this team, and he's like, well, he's not a leader. He's coaching the team, obviously, but they're still playing horrible. I mean, I don't know what is going through Steve Kerr's mind at this point, but something needs to change, and something needs to change very fast for the Warriors to start heating up at this point.
Jock?
Yeah, I completely agree with you guys. Warriors are not my pick, though. I have another team. I think that the Warriors will get it together by the end of the season. I cannot see them trending downwards. Obviously, I think we could all agree that the Warriors are going to take a step up at some point. They're not going to be a title contender this year. It's just not how it's going to be. But as much as it pains me to say it, my most disappointing team that I've kind of been iffy on is the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. Minnesota Timberwolves are, I get, if you're looking at the standings of the 4th seed in the West, I get that. But if you're watching this team, they just don't blend well together. I mean, we've seen Karl Anthony Towns, our favorite St. Joe's alum, he's struggling playing with Rudy Gobert, really, because they're putting this dominant defensive center presence in the paint where he's supposed to be playing, and he can't get to these guys out in the perimeter. He's having a lot of problems guarding these big forwards with good athleticism. I mean, D'Lo's been struggling shooting. Anthony Edwards is not playing in his best moments right now. I mean, they just don't look good. They do not look like a good team that I feel like we were all pretty high on the Minnesota Timberwolves going in. They just don't look like that good powerhouse team that we thought that they were going to be in the West.
Yeah, Jock, you took the words right out of my mouth. I didn't think anyone would mention the Timberwolves, but they were also my pick. I mean, 5-6, it's not like you could be really mad at a start like that. But I think everyone's prediction for this season was that the Timberwolves were a incredible regular season team. It's just that when the playoffs came around, maybe they didn't look as good. Maybe they get knocked out in the first round, at max the second round. But for the regular season, everyone kind of figured top 3, 4 seed, definitely home court advantage. And I mean, 5-6 to start off the first 11 games is a rough start. I mean, you mentioned it. Gobert, he almost came in, and this team got worse. I'm not saying Gobert is a bad player. I'm a massive Gobert fan. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. But you lose guys like Malik Beasley, some other guys like that you gave away in the trade along with draft picks, which would be very valuable. And all of a sudden, something stirred in Minnesota. Something's not going right, whether it's Anthony Edwards trying to overhaul this offense. Carl isn't meshing well. D'Lo hasn't really picked it up since his Nets days. Maybe Gobert isn't meshing well in the new environment. I don't know what it is, but something is going on in Minnesota, and they got to figure it out soon, or else they could be in for a rough ride if they are a lower seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off of you. I think the Warriors, for sure, I would say are more disappointing. They're defending champions and have a worse record than the Timberwolves. But I do agree the Timberwolves have been very disappointing. And it's not necessarily that Rudy Gobert is a bad player, Ben, just like you said. It's that Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, when they're on the floor together, the Timberwolves are a bottom 5 scoring team in the league in terms of points per 100 possessions. That has to tell you that something's got to change. Something's got to give, whether it's play style, whether it's just – I mean, we might have to look at blowing up this entire experiment once we get to the trade deadline. I just – explain to me how this is gonna change. Karl-Anthony Towns' offensive his offensive game completely dismantled now that Rudy Gobert is there. He has the least amount of post-up opportunities he's ever had in his career through to the first 10, 11 games. And like I said before, their offense as a whole, as a team, mightily struggling when they're both on the floor at the same time. There was a clip that was going around, pretty viral. Anthony Edwards standing with his hands on his hips as the play unfolds for the Timberwolves. Karl-Anthony Towns making comments about Anthony Edwards' eating habits. It just doesn't seem like his team is gelling, both off the court and on the court. And I think this is a team that's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one more quick thing before we move on to the next superlative. I know me and Ben were also very high on Coach Chris Finch going into this season, and the environment he's creating in Minnesota has not been good, at least from the fans' perspective. It has not been good at all. Obviously, Matt, as you pointed out, that Anthony Edwards play went viral, and it's just, I don't know if it's the rotations he's doing, the environment he's creating, but it's just coach to player, like they're not meshing well at the moment. Just nothing. It just feels like nothing is going right for this Timberwolves team.
I don't necessarily think it's on Finch. I think that
I don't think it's on him either, but I think it could add to it, is my point. I'm not saying it's on him.
I guess he could, but I'm looking more at the fundamental problems with this team lie in the roster that they've put together.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns do not mesh. Anthony Edwards is a young star. He's not given much opportunity to really spread his wings. I mean, we're seeing, or what I believe we'll see down the line is you see John Morant. You see how he's turning into a superstar because he has his hands at the front of this organization, of the Grizzlies organization. You look at Jason Tatum. He was given the keys to the organization right as he stepped in Boston. So, like Anthony Edwards not being able to have that opportunity will hurt his growth as a player. Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert, it doesn't work. There's nothing else we need to see. It doesn't work on the defensive end. Karl-Anthony Towns is lost. It doesn't work on the offensive end because either Karl-Anthony Towns is lost or Rudy Gobert is lost. It's just not happening. I'm sorry. The Timberwolves, they need to make a change now before things get really out of hand.
Yeah, Freeman, I think you make a great point. I think it's almost a power struggle going on right now in Minnesota. I mean, Carl, for as long as he's been there, it's always been Carl's our franchise guy. No matter how good he's played great, but I don't know if he's played like a number one option his entire career. But nonetheless, Supermax, hey, you want to get D'Angelo Russell, who's your best friend, we'll give him to you. It doesn't matter, whatever Carl wants. And then Anthony Edwards got drafted. Edwards is slowly climbing that leadership role. Carl can kind of sense that. And then Rudy Gobert comes in. Donovan Mitchell kind of took over his leadership role in Utah, so maybe he's trying to get back to that power trip in Minnesota. And I'm not saying that's what's going on, but it could be a reason that all three of those guys are clashing right now. And I mean, we saw the Anthony Edwards play, like you mentioned. He had his hands on his hips, like he's LeBron James playing in the league for 22 years. He's been in the league for what is this, his third season? Like I don't think he deserves to be putting his hands on his hips like that. Like he's exhausted, especially since it's early on in the game. So just the mentality right now in Minnesota is not where it needs to be. Jock, you had something?
Yeah, no, I just say second or third.
Yeah,
right?
second. Yeah,
Second
I think Minnesota has to take a quick trip to Metuchen, come back as a team, take a quick team trip like last year. Karl Anthony Towns, D'Lo coming to school. That was very fun.
That was very cool of them to do, but hey, maybe we were their bad luck charm because it's not working too well right now. I don't want to throw that on us, but I'm just throwing it out there. We'll move on to which team has the brightest future in the NBA. Jaden, I'll let you start off with that one.
Yeah, for brightest future, I'm gonna go with Freeman's boys, the Memphis Grizzlies.
That's what I'm
Memphis
talking
Grizzlies.
about.
I mean, young talent, Desmond Bane, Kennedy Chandler, and I'm also a big fan of Dylan Brooks. But they're surrounding these guys around John Morant, which is making an amazing team. For all the talent that they have, I think they definitely have the brightest future for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Freeman?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I just, if you look at a team, there is no other team in the league that is a legitimate contender that consists of all young players that are homegrown. This is an unbelievable job by the Grizzlies front office. I mean, John Morant looking like a superstar. Desmond Bane, a legitimate star this year, averaging 23.5 points per game, and he's one of the league's sharpshooters. Dylan Brooks, his offensive game needs to take a step, but everyone knows he's elite on the defensive end. Tyus Jones is entering towards the back half of his prime, but he's one of the best backup point guards in the NBA. Brendan Clark, and then you look at the rookies that they've brought in this past year. There's no other team in the league that is this young and this good at the same time.
There's one team.
Oh my God!
Tell me the one team.
They go by the name of the Boston Celtics, who are my pick for the brightest future.
Oh God, no!
What?
Finish it off, Jock. Go through it.
Go. Let's
Are you
hear it.
serious? No. Hold on.
Let
Are
me
you
hear your
serious?
argument.
Explain it,
hear the
Jock. Go ahead.
argument. I want to know how this is like the brightest future. I mean,
Jason Tatum
what I'm
and
trying to
Jalen
do.
Brown
right now
are
the
still
Celtics
very
look
young.
like a complete team. Like, what are you talking about? Brightest future?
Brightest future. This Jason Tatum's still very young. Jalen Brown's still very young. They just went to this was a championship last year. They have great depth all around these guys. I mean, what's not to like in this team? I get that if you wanted to say 5 years down the road, are the Grizzlies going to be a better team than the Celtics? I could agree with you there, but I think
the brightest future is
Yeah, I think you're forgetting the prompt here, big dog. It's
brightest future. Like, who has the best future? And
It's not
the Boston
necessarily
Celtics?
who's going to win now. It's who's set up the best for like the future, like 5 years down the line when you said the Grizzlies will be better.
I'm not going to argue. I had a tough time picking this one, so.
Okay, I mean it's what the Celtics. I agree they're just a better team than the Grizzlies are right now.
Yeah,
but I just think down the line with the amount of homegrown talent that the Grizzlies have, they're going to come away as having a brighter future. They'll be better for longer with the guys that they currently have.
I understand that. I had a tough time picking this one out. This was the one I struggled on a little bit today.
Yeah, I could definitely 100% agree with Friedman on that take. But I mean, well, what you just said about Jock's take. But going back to Friedman's top five, honestly, I could see the Celtics coming in, taking the Cavs spot. I mean, the Cavs just have the experience that they have right now. I feel like the Cavs are looking like a complete team at this point. I mean, the Cavs at 3 and the Celtics at 2. I mean, I could see that for me.
Yeah, and guys, I'm gonna take a bit of a. I want to allow you to allow me to get this take out first before you go after me.
I think. Can I just say? I think I know where you're going here.
Yeah, I think Jock knows where I'm going. It's a bit of a different approach. Not really the talent on the roster at the moment.
Yeah.
You got guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yep.
You got Josh Giddey.
I
want to throw it out there.
The Pacers.
In the next 7 drafts, they have 38 draft picks, 17 first rounders over the next 7 years. Whether
I can take my kids to the NBA Finals when they're playing.
Yeah. Whether they use that I didn't even hear what you said. What'd you say, Freeman?
I said I could take my kids to the NBA Finals when by the time that their draft picks get developed and used.
And that'll be in the future. So that's
I
the
guess
way
you're
I'm
right.
taking this
That's
prop.
a different approach, but I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
So, whether they package it together and put it all in the next like 5-6 years, or they really do use every single one of those picks, that's kind of the approach I'm taking. The talent is there. I like it with Shea and Giddy and guys like that. Chet Holmgren, how could I forget?
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, 17 first-round picks in the next 7 years is undoubtable, and that's kind of the approach I'm taking for the long run for the Thunder.
yeah. I just want to touch on that real quick. Completely agree with you. You want to talk about guys having the keys to this organization. SGA in 3 years will be by the leader of this Oklahoma City Thunder team. You're gonna have Chet coming back from injury. I still want to see more growth out of Giddy. He definitely has the potential. I want to see his three ball go up, and I want to see him be a bit more of a confident shooter. But I could not agree with Ben more here. I think that for the future, this team is built for the future. They're not going to be in contention, I don't think, for at least another 3 years. But I mean, yes, I think that this team could be very good in the future.
And guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a Wembanyama package happen where they just throw together maybe like 5 first-round picks to whoever has that first overall pick.
I don't think anyone's going to give him up.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't see anyone giving him up.
I
Maybe
think
if you give him. Go ahead, Matt.
No, I'm just saying I agree with you. I just don't think that whoever lands the number 1 overall pick, I highly doubt that they're going to be giving him up for literally anything.
Yeah, unless the Thunder want to give up all 17 first-round picks in the next 7 years, that's not going to happen. I mean, no one's going to give up Wembanyama if they draft him.
I mean, we talked about it in our very first episode of This Is a Basketball Show. I mean, guys, he might be the best prospect since LeBron James, if we're being honest. Like, he might be better than Zion. He might be better than all those guys. Luka. I mean, Luka wasn't a massive prospect. He kind of blew up a little bit. But Wembanyama is going to be incredible. I'm sure we'll touch on him later on in the season. Before we move on to our next prompt, we got Bobby Christensen kind of going crazy in the chat right now. So I definitely do want to hit on some of the points he's making.
I love the energy.
So he's saying that the Knicks are a play-in team.
Yeah.
And I'll read you his reasoning real quick. It's a bit of an essay, but we love to see it. It's great content. So he's saying the Knicks are going to gain chemistry throughout the year. Jalen Brunson is a star in the making for this team and is exactly what they need. Thibodeau is a great coach and will lead them to the play-in. The schedule is very favorable through January and March. They just went through an extremely tough stretch, and they still came out at 500%. They will go on a run and end the season strong. Cam Reddish is off to an amazing start. Obi Toppin is breaking out. And if these guys can get it going all year long, their depth will be outstanding, and they could beat any team in many different ways. So, guys, any thoughts on that?
Really quick before, because I know Jock's gonna want to hop on this Knicks bandwagon.
I'm not happy. I just want to agree with. I would agree with some points and disagree with some points. But go ahead.
Okay, that's fair. I just, this is my favorite game. The Bucks, the Cavs, the Celtics, the Hawks, the Raptors, the Bulls. I think the 76ers will be better than them. I think the Nets will still be better than them. I think the Heat will still be better than them. Oh, come on.
Did we not just talk about this?
Dude, you just said
about how they
that
have a top 5
can
player
bring
in
the
the
Nets.
NBA.
I know.
And
That roster is so
glorified
pitiful.
role player.
Oh my god.
Obviously me and Bobby both big Knicks fans. I'm very high on my Knicks. Again, I picked Tom Thibodeau to win Coach of the Year. Could still happen. I'm not saying it's out of the question.
Yeah, if they go
Reddish
undefeated for the rest of the year, but that's about it.
Reddish is getting off to. We just want to talk about guys getting off to a hot start. Brunson, Reddish, both having Reddish is really mostly. We kind of knew Brunson. Obviously a couple of us I think picked him to be most improved player this year.
Only you.
Yeah.
No one else picked him to be most improved.
No, only you.
Really? Wow, I found that surprising. He's definitely top 3 at the moment in most improved. He's a star in the making. I could not agree more with that. But Reddish off the bench is having a big boom and a big impact for this Knicks team. I mean, I completely agree with the schedule Bobby mentioned as well. We played like 10 of the top teams in the league back to back, and we're able to take a couple. And then going down the stretch, if you look ahead at our schedule, it's not that good. I believe we played the Spurs 3 times. I think we played my favorite team, the Pacers, a couple times. I think we played the Rockets a couple times. Like, we played these bottom of the league teams multiple times coming down the playoff stretch. So, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with Bobby that the Knicks are a playing team.
And guys, real quick, we got a bit of a controversy going on in the chats. Connor Goverick is just striking right at the Knicks right now. Him, the Knicks are just awful. They just suck like they always have.
I think we see one delusional fan talking to another, to be completely honest with you. And you know what? I'm not even going to knock Bobby. I think that the Knicks definitely could be a playing team. I think if they are, it's a 10 or a 9 at absolute best.
I think it's a 9. I think it's a 9.
I think
at absolute best. If
No, I
Kevin
think the
Durant,
Knicks-
I still put trust in Kevin Durant over Jalen Brunson and company.
Yeah.
And I still put trust in Jimmy Butler and Bam and company over Jalen Brunson and the superstars. But yeah, I still think the Knicks can come away with the play-in. But the Bulls poster boy, I don't know. This is fanboy versus fanboy here, and I don't know. I don't really know who's gonna win.
Truthfully, the in order for the Knicks to have a good chance of getting into the play-in, honestly, they need to get rid of Julius Randle.
I 100% agree. Could not agree with
Yeah.
you more. I'm huge on Obi Toppin. They need to give him the ball more. He should be the guy. He's done every single step that you could use as a rookie. He's improved on his 3-point efficiency. He's spread the ball. Could not agree with that more. They need to give him the ball more and let him grow.
They'll get probably
Nothing for
one
him.
of the
I
last
know.
picks in the second round.
Yeah. The only
for-
problem is they're
for
not going to
Julius
get anything
Randle.
for Julius Randle that will help them for this year.
I agree with
or
that.
ever.
But
Ever.
I agree with that. No one's gonna want him, but they need to get rid of him and this year because there was also rumored. I may not have talked about it on the show, but Obi Toppin's actually rumored to be out in New York to look for a bigger role. And can you blame him? He's not on the court with Julius Randle. They actually did that experiment a couple of days ago for the first time. You know what? Well, but he hasn't stepped into that bigger role, which he's proved that he can step into.
Oh, I just don't think Obi Toppin has proved that he can sustain being a star player in a bigger role.
Why? He's had a
consistently.
very,
Why?
very,
He
very
hasn't
limited
had the
role.
opportunity.
He's had a very limited role off the bench. He's not
That's my
playing.
point. We've never seen him in a big
But he's
spot.
showing
if I walk
flashes,
into an NBA game, and I
But
play
in
1 minute,
in those flashes, his first year in the league, he was a pitiful 3-point shooter. His 3-point percentage is not. He's shooting, 38% from 3-point. Like, he is becoming a great shooter. His looks are very efficient. Like, he will grow if you give him more minutes, but they're not. That's what I'm saying. You have to let these young players grow, and Thibodeau likes to play the veterans on this team, but they're not letting Obi Toppin grow, which he needs.
But my point is that to say Obi Toppin could be a star down the stretch, yes. But to say that if he gets the minutes, it's automatic he's going to be a star.
Oh, it's not automatic. There's a lot of
that's just. But hold on, that's just not true because we don't have a sample size at all of him getting a majority of the minutes. So you can't really tell how his shooting numbers might go down with more shots, with the offense relying on him to score. So it could go both ways. I think Obi Toppin, I can understand him wanting a bigger role, but like not many other teams are going to be giving him a bigger role because he hasn't proven so much right now in the NBA. I understand his career is young, but he hasn't proven much.
I understand where you're coming from. I completely agree.
And guys, I think the thing with Julius Randle, we saw him. Obviously, he blew up, and then he got his contract. Once he got his contract, he went on a massive decline. Yep. So I don't know if you kind of plan that out. We do see that a lot in a lot of sports, NHL, NFL, NBA, where guys play just all out, 100% to get their contract. They get the money, and they just kind of sail it out for the rest of that contract. So I think that's what Julius Randle might be doing right now.
Yeah, no question.
Yep.
And Connor's saying he's a very optimistic fan. I don't really remember what team Connor's a fan of. I don't know if I've ever heard of Connor being an NBA fan.
Isn't he a Bucks fan?
Yeah, I thought he was a Lakers fan.
He was a Lakers. I think he was a Lakers fan actually.
Yeah, something like that.
It was Lakers or Celtics. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
Shout out Connor Goverick, of course. Connor's Bull Run. Gotta love it. It's great content. We're gonna move on to the worst future in the league. Jaden, I'll have you start.
Worst future. I gotta go with the Lakers. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna be controversy for you guys, but the Lakers have arguably the best player of this generation, but they have no shooters around him that will support him throughout. I mean, Anthony Davis, he's still like top 20 in our league today, but there's no like real true star that can shoot around LeBron James, and that's why the Lakers have the worst future.
I couldn't agree more. We're on the same page pretty much the entire episode. It's really a no-brainer. I mean, they have little to no draft capital. They have no young talent around LeBron James, who is gone once Bronny gets in the league in several years. And so they show no threat of winning now or winning in the next several years. And they show no threat of a rebuild like you see these other teams are getting a head start on. They could potentially, with how the season is going, they could potentially have an opportunity or could have had an opportunity to draft either Screw Henderson or Victor. And they lost that opportunity for what? That one ring in 2020. But if we're talking future, they have no draft capital. They have no young stars. And their stars that are playing now, aging. And Anthony Davis's legs are made of paper mache. You can't really rely on him being available down the stretch to lead your team. The Lakers have really nothing going for them right now or in the future.
Jock?
Couldn't agree with them more. Before I give my team, I 100% agree. The Lakers have the worst future in the league. But I do want to mention another team that I think is right behind them in the worst future. And I'm ready to start some controversy here. I think it's Jaden Hunter's Phoenix Suns. Let me give you some numbers on this, first of all. So we know that Chris Paul is on the decline, obviously. It has been clear that DeAndre Hunter will be out of Phoenix very, very soon. DeAndre Ayton, sorry. My bad. DeAndre Ayton will be out of Phoenix very soon. It's been very clear. It's either that'll be by the trade deadline or by the end of the season. He'll be gone. He has no means to return to Phoenix. And the only young guys that make impacts on this team, obviously Devin Booker is going to be that. Devin Booker is the only future that they have. They have no draft picks, and the only other guy that's a role player on the bench is Campaign. Campaign is decent, but who else is a young guy on this team who could really contribute when they have no draft capital? Their brightest star in the future is going to be leaving this season, and you're gonna have
Who is their brightest star in the future?
DeAndre Ayton. He's younger.
He's not the brightest
younger
star
than
in the
Devin
future.
Booker.
Please.
Devin Booker's 28. He's almost 29.
But you're talking about a guy in his prime. He's going to be one upon the best players in the league. He's not going to be top 5, but he's going to be upon the best players in the league.
He'll be borderline top 10, yeah.
For the next 4 or 5 years. So
yeah, but again, if you're talking future, this team's future is
in the next
in the next
5 years.
5 years.
I don't know what's the next 5 years. You just said
5 to 10 years. Yeah, is that
5 years? 5 years. Devin Booker will be
5 years
33.
is a very reasonable timeline. You're going to have Devin Booker for the next 5 years in his prime. How about Bridges? He's one of the best defenders in the league, averaging 15 a game. He's only 26. You want to talk about a guy who hasn't really had much of a scoring role. He clearly, you got Chris Paul, you got Ayton, you got Devin Booker. He hasn't really been able to spread his wings as a scorer, but he makes his presence felt on the defensive end every single night and still pours in an efficient 15 a game. Cam Johnson, another great player, knockdown shooter. This is a team that has the pieces to sustain their success through the next 5 years. I don't understand how losing Chris Paul and losing DeAndre Ayton just completely blow up their franchise.
They're losing 2 of their top 3 players. I mean,
well, Jock, the other thing with that is if they lose DeAndre Ayton or Chris Paul, honestly, I don't even know. Is DeAndre Ayton up with his contract this year?
Yes, he's gone after this year.
He signed a 1-year extension.
He signed a 1-year extension for this year, but he's been clear. It's been clear. There's been several media reports. I didn't think he was going to return to Phoenix by the beginning of the season. Obviously, he has, but it is very clear that the Suns also would like to move him because he's leaving a free agency. There's zero chance he resigns.
But he doesn't dissolve though. So you're moving a 24, 26-year-old center.
The Suns' best move would 100% be to move Ayton and get draft capital for him. That would be
that's the future.
So explain to me how they have how they have to be mentioned as the worst future in the league when they're going to trade Ayton, they're going to get draft capital.
We don't know that.
Booker,
we don't know
that. Bridges, they have Cam Johnson. Well, they're going to do something with Ayton. Just as an organization, you'd like to think the Suns or any organization is smart enough to meet with DeAndre Ayton and figure out either A, are you staying with us long term? If he is, then you keep him, you re-sign him. Or B, if you're not staying with us long term, then we'll deal you at the trade deadline. they got to make a decision, and I think they will. So either way, they're either retaining their center, DeAndre Ayton, or they're trading him, getting draft capital, hence having one of the better futures in the NBA.
So I don't disagree with you there. The one point
You
I
just
want to make before,
How are you not disagreeing with this now? But you
Yeah.
just said that the Suns have the worst future behind the
can I
Lakers.
finish, please?
Go ahead, Jock. Go ahead, Jock.
One thing that really does scare me is the fact that this team has no draft capital. They have no draft picks. They have one first-round pick in the next 3 years. Just that's in the next 3 years.
Okay, but
And
you're
you're gonna
saying
tell
that
me-
we're gonna deal Ayton away.
Can you finish, please? I mean, but we don't know what that package looks like. It's hypothetical. When
Okay.
if the trade deadline comes and Aiden gets dealt, then yeah, I'll revisit this take 100%, and I would disagree with it at that moment because Aiden got a package for Aiden. But you're gonna tell me that Devin Booker, Cam Payne, and Mikal Bridges are going to be a championship winning team in the next 5 years.
Whoa, you cannot continue to do this where you put words in our mouths. You can't say championship winning. Nobody
one said
ever
won't even
said
be
that.
close.
Team, bro. Oh, no
Nobody
one
ever
said
said a
championship winning team.
championship
We said
winning
that they're not the worst. They had the worst future.
I could see it.
Having the, all right. So the Suns for Jock's worst future. I completely forgot that I even have to go for this because we were so focused on Jock. Guys, I mean, Lakers, I feel like are a very obvious pick. It makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. I've been seeing some comments, and I was thinking about it earlier. I might have the Nets for this one. In terms of future, like I said, I love Ben Simmons. What is going on with him? I wish I knew. I have no idea what is going on with Ben Simmons. But right now, you have, a 34, 35-year-old KD, an older Kyrie who is very healthy, but just cannot stay on the court for his own reasons, which are completely up to him. He just decides to keep saying things that keep him off the court. I mean, in terms of draft capital, I'm looking at their picks right now. They don't have another pick that completely belongs to them for a long time. 2023 is not theirs. 2024 is heading to Houston. 2025 is not theirs. 2026 is heading to Houston. 2027 could be theirs or heading to Houston. 2028 could be theirs or it could be heading to Philly. Like, this is not a first-round pick guaranteed until 2029 with a very old but talented roster. But guys, in terms of future, this Nets team is in some major trouble, especially if they can't get anything done soon. I mean, meaning this year or next year with the roster they have right now.
See, I couldn't agree with you more there. And, I know we do have a handful of NBA GMs that do watch this show. So if you are one of them, just pay attention. Super teams don't work. I'm sorry. They just don't. The Nets, no chips, no future. The Lakers, one chip, no future. Like, is it worth selling your entire team for a chance at a championship for 1 to 2 years and then zero future for the next 5, 6, 7? I never will understand it. The Bucks are homegrown, and look at them now. The Cavs, homegrown, and then they brought in their big star. Look at them now. Grizzlies, homegrown. Look at them now. These are teams that are going to be good. They're good now, and they will be good for a while. Those are some of the best franchises in the NBA right now in terms of, their ability to win now and their future. I don't understand why these GMs continue to push super teams when, you see the after effects of the Nets. You see the after effects of the Lakers. And you look at the Nets, when they got Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, they tried to build something there. What happened? They were abysmal for years. They had to go through this entire rebuilding stage. And this is what you're going to see out of all these super teams. Meanwhile, teams like the Rockets, teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder, building up draft capital, and they're going to be the teams who run the league down the line.
Finn?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, I mean, we all saw what the Lakers did getting Anthony Davis. I mean, they got rid of so many good players. I mean, Julius Randle, we just talked about. I mean, he's a great role player. Brandon Ingram is playing amazing. Lonzo Ball, I mean, hopefully when he comes back off injury, he's going to be amazing. But obviously, we're seeing these GMs just getting rid of talent, and once they go away and get a chance to shine, I mean, they're shining bright when their time comes. And obviously, as we see, the GMs need to obviously stop getting these big time stars for 1-2 years to win a chip, because their future is the problem. The future, they're losing their future getting these big time stars.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden, the other thing, I mean, I'm seeing some of them in the chat. For me, you talked about homegrown. I mean, the Warriors are probably the best example of that. It's because, like, when we talk about the Timberwolves, the whole thing in the NBA is power struggle. These guys have such big egos. I mean, they deserve it too. I mean, they're incredible at what they do. But when you put guys who are incredible at what they do together without seeing them ever play together beforehand, it's a risk. But when you draft them like the Warriors did, you kind of let the whole team know, hey, our guy is Steph, and then it's Clay and Draymond and other guys like that. Once they all know their role, then they're able to play in that role. But I mean, you see with the Lakers and you see with the Nets, you got KD and Kyrie. Who's going to be the number one option? AD and LeBron. Who's going to be the number one option? It's when you have that power struggle is when I think that there's really some diversity or some bad happenings going on with those franchises.
So I would just like to address, some of the comments that have been coming up. One in particular was super teams in the past decade have worked. I would not necessarily classify the Warriors as a super team by my definition. My definition of a super team would be what the Lakers have done, what the Nets have done, where you sell your entire future to go all or nothing with purely just superstars and no real depth and try to win a championship. And that hasn't been the formula to win. The formula to win, look at the Milwaukee Bucks. They won 2 years ago. They have a superstar, and then they have Holiday, they have Middleton, they have Lopez. They have their guys that fall in after and fill their roles. And, look, they won the championship, and it looks like they could be on their way again this year. Warriors won 4. I understand they brought in Kevin Durant. I mean, that's just the ability to bring in Kevin Durant is a luxury when you draft Steph Curry and you let him grow under your franchise. You get Draymond Green, you get Klay Thompson extraordinarily early in their career, and then they grow with you. That is not necessarily a super team. That's not selling your team to acquire, Kyrie and Kevin Durant and James Harden, because we saw how that worked. That is not what I would classify as a super team. You look at the Cavs, the successful teams in the past decade have made their money from not necessarily from trading, from free agency and from draft picks. You look at the future of this league, it's all been from savvy drafting. You look at the past in this league, it's been from, look at the Warriors, look at the Cavs. It's been made from, big free agent signing and then smart draft picks to build around them. So to say that the super team dynamic in the past decade have worked, I don't think the Warriors are a good example of a super team.
Yeah, and Bobby makes a great point in the chat. He's saying like the example of the Cavs, like we said, the Grizzlies, OKC in the past when you had the KD, James Harden, Russ. It's when you draft the guys when they're young and you let them know their roles. That's what I'm trying to hit at. When you let them know their roles early on, when they're young players, when their egos aren't sky high like they can be later in the career, that's where you see success. Obviously, the Thunder never won a chip, but they were always at the top there. Even like the Timberwolves, like they were on their way up. They were on their way up with that young roster that threw in Rudy Gobert, and all of a sudden everything just collapses for whatever reason. We don't know, but it's just the facts. Like everything collapses when you kind of put a break in the system and try something new, and then everything just goes downhill.
Yeah, for sure. Couldn't agree more. I just don't understand why these GMs keep deviating from the traditional way of building a team, which is you make the correct draft picks, maybe get a guy from free agency. It's beyond me. I'll never understand it.
And hey, Connor, my team of the future, 2030 champs. They definitely are. They're going to do the homegrown aspect like we hit on. So, yeah, Connor on the nose right there. Guys, I want to finish it off with finish one of these last segments off. Who do you have as the best team in the NBA, Jaden?
I think we're gonna run right there.
I think obviously you guys know my answer. The Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA, all around team, great team. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think no one can stop him at this point. He's just a monster, tearing up defenses, driving into the paint. We know obviously how long he takes to shoot a free throw, but it doesn't take him that long to get to the paint.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I mean, best record in the NBA, the number 2 point differential, number 1 defense, and probably the best, if not the best, top 2 player in the NBA. I'll take that.
Dude, these comments are going crazy. No one cares that the Hawks beat the Bucks. The Bucks are still a way better team. Please stop.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll make it.
boy.
I'll make it nice and sweet. I hate being boring, but couldn't agree more. Bucks are by far the best team in the league.
Yeah, guys, Giannis is playing great. Also, shout out Brooke Lopez. He's having an incredible year
Yeah,
so far,
defensive end.
along with Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton hasn't even stepped foot on the court yet. So I think by a long shot, it's the Bucks this year. We should see a bit of bit of different takes here for this last segment. Jaden, your worst team in the NBA.
We kind of touched on it, but I think the worst team is probably the Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, I think
Oh,
they really need to get rid of LeBron James, please. I mean, LeBron James, he deserves to be somewhere better. He could be somewhere way better playing for a playoff or probably a championship somewhere else. But I think for the Los Angeles Lakers, they need either to surround LeBron with some shooters or just get rid of LeBron at this point.
Freeman.
Yeah, so everyone who has watched the show knows how low I am on the Lakers, how disappointed I am with their front office. But for my worst team, I'm gonna have to go with the Houston Rockets. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's between the Rockets and the Magic. The only difference is the Magic have what seems to be a future star, and the Rockets, they haven't really had any separation from anyone else on their roster to prove that they are going to be a future star. I mean, you look at Paolo Banchero, he's been unbelievable. He's 23.5 points per game, 8 rebounds. He's actually 39th in the NBA in points per isolation. That's an unbelievable stat. If you break down how many players in the NBA that you would think you'd rank ahead of him in terms of scoring, he's right up there. I would rank him in the top 50 in terms of scoring as a rookie in 12 games into the year. So I would just say, in my opinion, it's a 2-horse race between the Rockets and the Magic. But I would put the Rockets a little bit worse because they don't have that young star who's actually going to produce night in, night out.
Again, yeah, I hate repeating Matt, but he took the words right out of my mouth. I think it's between the Magic and the Rockets, but if we're facing the facts, the Magic have Paolo Banchero, and the Rockets have a struggling Jalen Green, who is supposed to be their franchise star. But again, as I think Ben said earlier in the show, he's just chucking shots, and he's trying to step into a role that Jalen Green isn't supposed to be playing. And again, it's just not a formula for success in Houston. And the record shows that they're 2-9. They're right now at the moment the worst seed in the West. I mean, really, do I think that their potential is decent? Yeah, but at the moment, yeah, they're the worst team in the league.
Yeah, guys, I'll keep the train moving. We'll get our third straight Rockets pick. The thing I'm most disappointed in is Jabari Smith.
Yeah.
I thought he was drafted a little too high for my liking in the draft, but I still thought he was an incredible prospect. He has played horrendously this season. I mean, let's be honest. 10 points per game across 30 minutes per game, shooting 30% from the field. He's just playing horrendous. His defense is below par. Yeah, I wish he would step it up more. I know these are his first ever games in the NBA, but the production he could have, the amount of touches he's getting on the ball, it's undeniable that he should be stepping it up, but he's just simply not. So, I mean, the future, I'm sure it's bright for him, but right now, this Rockets team is just pitiful.
Yeah, I just want to touch on one thing real quick. Like, if you're looking from a Houston Rockets GM perspective, I get the pick in Jabari Smith. I 100% get it. Like, you have Jalen Green, who you want to be your star guard. They're looking for a forward or a big man. Like, the one guy I would say I think fits their system very well, even though it was a bit of a stretch at the 3 pick. I'm not even going to say it, never mind, because it's a dumb take. I went back on my words there. But all I'm going to say is I understand the Jabari Smith pick, but as Ben said, it just hasn't worked out for what they want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, like Nate is saying down here. I mean, five more years, they could get a ring. I think.
No.
Freeman, I was just about to say it. I think it's because they're so young that everyone's like, oh, if they just keep them together, they're going to be good. Young players aren't always going to be good in the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Jalen Green fan. Jabari Smith hasn't showed us anything. So Nate, I think you might be on your own island there, man. I'm not a massive fan of the current or future Rockets.
Honestly, I'm a huge Jalen Green fan. I watched his documentary coming out of high school. Personally, I think that the Rockets are gonna fall into a Los Angeles Lakers. They need to surround Jalen Green by shooters. I mean, Jalen Green is an amazing slasher. We've seen him post up on different guys in high school and in the G League. Honestly, I think for the Rockets to be successful, they need to surround Jalen Green with some type of shooting on the outside perimeter.
I'm going to disagree with that. I think
Yeah,
that
I agree.
LeBron James has the pedigree to have a team built around him. And I think you look at guys, you don't even have to have such immense pedigree. Like you look at John Morant, the only way the Grizzlies will be successful is if you surround him with shooters, which they have done a great job of. Santee and Desmond Bane, two of the best shooters in the league. Jalen Green has proved absolutely nothing to show that he deserves a franchise being built around him and his game. That's just that I just can't see that. He was the number 2 pick. Great. Jabari Smith was number 3. They have a bunch of high draft pick guys, and they'll have a chance of getting Scoot or Victor this coming year. I would definitely. I think we're jumping the gun a little bit on saying that this franchise needs to be built around Jalen Green. If he proves that he can be a star, a potential superstar, then okay, we can go down that route. But to say that that's the direction this franchise should be going to, I think is irresponsible.
Yeah. Matt took the words right out of my mouth. I'm not comparing Jalen Green to John Morant here, but again, first year in the league, John Morant was a pitiful shooter. We all said, but he showed flashes that he could be a superstar, and obviously he's developed into that. Jalen Green has not showed us that he can develop like into that superstar role. Obviously, for Jalen Green, like Matt said, for Jalen Green to have a team built around him, he needs to be a much better shooter. He needs to learn how to pass the ball more and stop forcing his own shots. When we see those 3 things in the next 2 to 3 years, then yes, you could say, okay, we can surround him with some better shooters, some wings, some guys that can spread the floor. But I cannot agree with Matt Moore. You can't say that at the moment.
Yeah, Jock, I think that's a great comparison to John Morant. Obviously, like you said, the very young John Morant who didn't prove much but had those flashes. Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly, honestly. He hasn't shown those flashes yet, and I don't know if he ever will. Nate is recommending getting Trae Young or a Luka type player. I think I would recommend that for any young player in the league.
They don't grow on trees, those things.
If you give Paulo one of those guys, the Magic are like a title. If you put Luka on the
Magic. Whoa!
Jock, we were just about to end the episode, man.
All right. Well,
on a good note,
let's just say I'll have a spicy guac take for next week.
Oh,
I think we've got a bit of a preview there, man.
I think we had a bit of a preview.
So, Friedman, if you don't mind holding your reaction until next week. But guys, I think that's going to do it for episode 4 of This Is a Basketball Show. Real quick, I want to shout out Mr. Herring, Roman, Mr. Hunter in the chat, and then Nate, Bobby, also in the chat. Really appreciate you guys.
Connor.
And all the support. Of course, Connor in the chat, giving us an incredible Connor's Bull Run.
Can we play Connor's Bull Run again?
Down the road. But, guys, with that, so for Jaden Hunter, Matt Friedman, Giacomo Imperiale, I'm Ben Chadwick. Thanks for watching.